You ever wonder what kings and queens were really like behind all that glitter and gold? We always picture them perfectly powdered, graceful, noble. But let me tell you, some of them were barely holding it together. Literally. Because behind the crowns and ceremony were shaking hands, delusions, blue pea, and even full-blown hallucinations. Yep. Today we're looking at 7 royals who hid truly horrifying medical conditions, and what they reveal is both tragic and kind of terrifying. So pour some tea. This one's dark. Let's begin gently with a soft-spoken German princess who believed she had a glass piano inside her body. No joke. Princess Alexandra of Bavaria, born in the 19th century, developed what doctors would later call glass delusion. It's exactly what it sounds like. She believed her body or parts of it were made of fragile glass. But not just any glass, a grand piano made of crystal. Imagine walking through life thinking every hug, every stumble, could cause your insides to shatter. She wore only white, moved slowly, spoke gently. People thought she was just eccentric, but in her mind she was living in constant fear of breaking. Historians believe this was rooted in deep anxiety, isolation, and overwhelming pressure to be perfect in a royal household where emotions were not welcome. No one dared to confront it, because you don't question royalty even when they think they're a musical instrument. Now, this one's more well known, but the details. Wild. King George III of Britain. Yeah, the guy from the American Revolution wasn't just called mad for political drama. He genuinely lost control of his mind in spectacular fashion. He spoke non-stop, sometimes for hours, wrote pages upon pages of gibberish, and once famously shook hands with a tree thinking it was the King of Prussia. But here's the weird part. Doctors found his urine was bright blue, like sapphire-colored. Turns out he may have had porphyria, a rare blood disorder that messes with your nervous system, causes hallucinations, pain, and changes the color of your pee. Imagine being the ruler of a global empire, dressed in gold embroidery, giving royal speeches, while secretly fighting demons in your own head and peeing blue. He eventually went blind and had to be hidden from the public. And honestly, that's one royal crisis I don't think even the crown could cover up. Let's make it darker. Queen Juana of Castile, known to history as Juana la Loca, may have loved her husband more than anyone in royal history. Too much, in fact. When Philip the Handsome died suddenly, Juana didn't just mourn. She took his rotting corpse on tour. For months. She refused to bury him. Instead, she had his body placed in a lead coffin and traveled with it, sleeping next to it, ordering the coffin opened occasionally and driving her guards mad with her obsession. Was it heartbreak, grief, or was something more deeply wrong? Modern psychiatrists believe she suffered from severe psychosis or schizophrenia, made worse by political manipulation and isolation. She was eventually locked away in a convent where she remained for over 40 years. Never crowned, never truly queen, just a woman grieving herself into madness with a corpse for company. Now if you lived in ancient Rome and you had a limp, a stammer, and a twitch, people didn't call it a medical condition. They called it a divine punishment. Claudius, the unlikely emperor of Rome, was seen as the family embarrassment. He drooled, he staggered, he couldn't give a speech without stammering. Everyone assumed he was slow, weak, useless. But here's the twist: Claudius was brilliant. He played dumb so well, nobody noticed he was learning everything. While his relatives murdered and schemed their way through the empire, Claudius just kept surviving. Modern historians think he may have had cerebral palsy or a neurological condition like Tourette's syndrome. But guess what? When everyone else had dropped dead, Claudius became emperor and shocked everyone with how competent he was. Sound cue, marble footsteps echoing in a silent hall, so yeah, the kid with the drool, he outlived his assassins. Then ruled the empire. Now this one, absolutely unhinged. Ivan IV of Russia, better known as Ivan the Terrible, was a lot, paranoid, violent, possibly poisoned, possibly insane. He built a secret police force to crush anyone who looked at him wrong. He beat his pregnant daughter-in-law for wearing revealing clothes, and he murdered his own son in a rage, then collapsed weeping over the body. So what was wrong? Historians think Ivan may have had temporal lobe epilepsy, or some form of bipolar disorder, made worse by arsenic poisoning, which he likely consumed through toxic medicines and cosmetics. His rages weren't just anger, they were explosions, and his remorse was just as intense. Imagine ruling an empire and not even being able to trust your own mind. By the end of his life, Ivan's body was swollen, his spine deformed, his beard falling out, and his kingdom bleeding from within. Ah yes, another royal who thought he might shatter. Charles VI of France began his reign with promise. But over time, things got strange. He forgot people's names, spoke nonsense, attacked his own knights thinking they were enemies, and then it got worse. He suddenly believed he was made of glass. He refused to let anyone touch him. He had special clothes sewn with iron rods to protect him from breaking, and he sat completely still for hours, terrified a bump could crack him like fine crystal. This wasn't a phase. It lasted years. Historians today suspect schizophrenia, possibly triggered by genetics or environmental toxins like lead. Meanwhile, France was in chaos. Armies collapsed. Alliances failed. And Charles sat there, unbroken but completely unreachable. A king who ruled nothing but his own delusions. We've talked about delusions and dead husbands, but now we're entering a different kind of horror. The slow, painful rot. King Charles II, charming, witty, fun at parties, was hiding something. Actually, a lot of things. By the end of his life, his body was basically falling apart. But he kept showing up to court with a smile, powdered wig in place, pretending nothing was wrong. Behind the scenes, though, he suffered from kidney failure, heart disease, mercury poisoning, and probably uremia, a condition where waste builds up in your blood. He had seizures, swollen limbs, could barely sleep. His skin turned pale and waxy. His breath, ammonia sour. His stomach bloated and tight. The doctors didn't help. They made it worse. They bled him with leeches, blistered his skin, forced him to drink liquid gold, powdered skull, and unicorn horn. No, seriously. He eventually collapsed during a meeting and convulsed in front of his advisors. And what were his final words? "I am sorry, gentlemen, for being such a long time dying." That's one way to exit, so there you have it. 7 kings and queens. 7 secret battles with their own bodies and minds. They ruled empires, led armies, and made history, while quietly falling apart inside silk robes. Some believed they were glass. Some heard voices. Some couldn't stop their hands from shaking, and others poisoned themselves trying to survive. Kind of makes you think. Being royal didn't protect them from anything. It just meant no one could talk about it. So next time someone tells you they were born in the wrong era, just ask them, do you want the crown or the madness that came with it? Thanks for watching. And remember, sometimes the scariest thing in a palace is what the king's trying to hide.